Good evening. My name is Eric Lindstrom. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Inland Wetland Commission meeting for the town of Monroe. It is Wednesday, October 23rd, and the time is 7:04 p.m. Will everyone please stand to recite the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll take a roll call of the members of the commission and staff present during tonight's hybrid meeting. Please answer here or present, starting with myself, Eric Lindstrom, chairman here. Ryan Kelly, vice chairman. Here. Rick Smith. Here. Jim Stewart, a professional engineer. Here. Benjamin Sabia, secretary. Here. Paul Fernandez. Here. Mark Zemery. Here. Kathleen Gallagher, planning and zoning administrator. Here. And Andrew Broadman, inland wetlands enforcement officer. Here. Before we start, I'll read our mission statement and how the meeting will proceed. The objective and purpose of the Inland Wetland Commission is to provide for the overall protection and preservation of the inland wetlands and watercourses within the town of Monroe. Please note that this meeting is being conducted utilizing electronic equipment in compliance with State Law Public Act 21-1. As such, this meeting is being recorded and will be available to the public in compliance with state law. If you are attending remotely, please remember to mute your microphone unless speaking. Anyone participating remotely should state their name and title, if applicable, at the outset of each occasion that such person is speaking. All votes taken during which any member of the body are not present participating remotely shall be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. The chat features will not be utilized nor considered during this meeting. In the normal course of our meetings, we'll hear public hearings and other applications. Protocol for public hearings is to have an applicant make a presentation to the commission, during which and after which the commission will be asking the applicant questions. I ask the applicant keep their presentations as concise as possible. The commission will then review town, staff, and other independent comments. The meeting will then be open for public comment. I will ask that all comments be made to the chair or commission. After any and all comments pro, in opposition, or of a general nature are made, the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond. Please keep comments or questions direct, or a time limit of 3 minutes may be imposed. It is not necessary that the applicant respond, but generally in their best interest to do so. There will be no further opportunity for new questions unless new material is entered in as evidence or testimony during their response. Please keep all comments pro and con specific to inland wetland related matters. Other applications that do not involve a public hearing will follow a similar format, with the exception that there will be no public comments allowed. The meeting follows our published agenda unless otherwise amended. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There's one addition to the agenda under agent activities, under enforcement. I'd like to add one more item there, 590 Main Street.
Do we want to make a switch to the others now?
It's a suggestion if you'd like to switch the deliberations. We have 2 deliberations tonight.
We have to make a motion to do that?
If you're changing the agenda, yes, it has to pass by 2/3 for vote.
I will make a motion to move IWC-2024-08 file 1490 50 Cambridge Drive to the top of the list in the deliberations on completed hearing section of the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kelly and a second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll have to do the same thing for 590 Main Street if we're going to add it to the agenda.
Okay.
Motion to add enforcement 590 Main Street to the agenda.
Second.
Who seconded it?
Oh,
Ben's getting credit for the
Waiting
second.
for that second.
you have to look at the tape.
Yeah.
So who's the official second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Stewart, a second by Commissioner Sabia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any other agenda items? Okay. Okay, at this point, is there anybody in the general public who would like to come up and speak in a general nature about anything not specific to what's on our agenda this evening? Anyone in the chambers? Anyone online who'd like to speak in a general way here? Anyone? Somebody's got their hand up?
Yes,
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
yes, thank you. Mark Lamont, 51 Downs Road. It kind of pertains to tonight's proceedings, but I just have a general question regarding the deliberation for 1536, 1564 Monroe Turnpike. I understand we can't introduce any new evidence or comments. That's understood and clear. But are we able to ask questions for clarification during the deliberation?
No,
No.
I'm sorry, you're not.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anybody else online? Okay, moving on to regulated activities. We have IWC 2024-09, file number 1503, 26 Freedom Lane. Proposal to repave existing driveway within the upland review area. Sarah Harris, the applicant, and Nardi Masonry and Paving representative. Are they here this evening?
They are not. This is a pending application, looking for the commission to vote whether it be a regular hearing or a public hearing.
They got this in their packet or is this?
Yes.
separate? No.
It's in front of you.
Oh, got it.
Right.
So it's really at your discretion if you feel like it's appropriate to vote on tonight, or if you would like some time to review it. I do know that Andrew is very familiar with the application if you want him to give you a little bit of an overview. However, no matter what, the clock basically starts today from a statutory perspective, but you could go another 2 weeks if you wanted to vote, but that's really at the commission's discretion.
Why don't we hear his take on everything and then we can.
So the application that's in front of you is a proposal to repave a 250-foot long driveway that is currently gravel, and portions of it are old asphalt. 250 foot by 12 feet wide is within the upland review area. The whole driveway services 3 properties, 26, I forget the other numbers, but 3 properties on Friedman Lane. The road is on a town easement. It's very close to a pond, which you could see on the plan there. So they're looking to repave it. The repavement would
They're
be
looking to
excavating,
repave it or pave it?
repave it.
It's asphalt now.
Portions of it are asphalt, portions of it is hard compacted gravel. In repaving it, they'll have to regrade the road to a depth of 4 to 6 inches. All that material will remain on site and be reused. And we're asking them to repitch the driveway so that it sheets off in a more consistent way than it does right now.
You said that there are 3 homes, Commissioner Kelly speaking. Andrew, you said that there are 3 homes?
Yes.
Is the applicant all 3 parties?
The applicant is one of the properties, and she has letters in the application from the other residents along that road to speak on her behalf.
Supporting the,
Supporting it, yes.
What's you got 2 wetland setbacks?
Yeah, there's so the one line is the 100-foot, and because it is a pond down below, I asked them to put the 150-foot mark in there. So you can see 250 foot is actually within the upland review area. The rest of the driveway going up is not in the upland review area, so it's not really in our purview.
It's just this small section on the left here. Is that what I'm seeing?
Exactly. It's just, she can't get the property, the wetlands delineated because she doesn't own the property to the left.
Mm-hmm.
So to get a soil scientist and delineate it, she can't do that.
They are, and since we've dealt with this in the past, they are paving this to the same width.
The same way
as it is now?
I have pictures of what it is right now, and the proposal is for exactly what it what is there now.
And I think it would make sense if this commission asked him to go take a couple spot measurements throughout for record. I think he'd be happy to do
I
that.
would make a motion that this is not a significant activity and should move to a regular hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second?
Second, somebody?
Sure.
Can you say it to him again? To go directly to Andrew to determine?
Well, no,
I'm sorry,
no.
I didn't hear the.
Oh, no, he's making a motion that this is just a regular,
A regular hearing, not a public hearing.
not a public hearing, not an agent approval,
Okay, sorry.
Well, I mean,
unless you wanted to,
If you'd like to make a motion to make it an agent approval, I feel completely confident in doing that.
okay, I withdraw my motion.
well,
I'm sorry, I
no,
didn't.
no, I'm glad you brought that up. I just want to make sure if anybody has any commentary about whether or not this should be a hearing of some nature, or if you want to go agent approval.
Clarify. I know he can't delineate it, but you've been out there, you've seen it?
Yes.
So does it go down? Does it appear to go down?
Yes, everything that comes off of the driveway right now goes down into an open field, across that open field to a pond.
I see the pond. I see also 150 feet.
Yep.
Which tells me that it must go down because it'd be 100 feet if it didn't.
Yes.
Um,
The,
I,
go
yeah.
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
have no other questions. I think Kathleen's correct. We should take a couple spot measurements.
Okay. And do it as an agent approval.
So is everybody okay with agent approval? Is anybody not okay with it as an agent approval?
You need a motion for that?
Motion.
Motion that 26 Freedman Lane be an agent approval
And you're gonna take,
With,
with recommended spot width measurement.
right,
I second.
okay. So we have a motion for agent approval by Commissioner Stewart, with a second by Commissioner Stewart. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. All right, we have no regular meetings, no public hearings. So now we're moving on to deliberations. So we're gonna shift what was on the bottom to the top. So IWC 2024-08, file number 1490, 50 Cambridge Drive. Proposed battery storage system within the upland review area and associated utility connections and apparatus. Cambridge Drive RE LLC owner, BL Companies representative. So who would like to start with comments?
I'd like to start with a comment.
Go ahead.
This is Commissioner Sabia, from last meeting, actually. And it goes by what we had, Commissioner Smith had talked about, in the event that it catches on fire. And I did some more research onto these things in the lithium-ion batteries, and there is a lot that has to go into them in order to make sure that there isn't catastrophic failures, especially when it comes to water, if any of these battery packs are punctured.
And I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to make sure no one can introduce any new.
Yeah, no.
evidence.
Yeah.
So as you say, research that you're doing, as long as it's information that has kind of been discussed before, you just can't introduce anything.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm discussing back from previous. And I just think that was something that we should have taken into consideration a little bit harder, especially if there is a catastrophic failure, there's wetlands really close to that. That's my comment on that one, is I think that we should have pushed a little bit harder on that one and had Commissioner Smith continue to ask more questions on that.
Okay. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
So with all due respect, I understand it's late at night and everything, but my concerns were founded because there are a lot of events that occur on a regular basis. I have one in Port Arthur, Texas, another in Korea. Well, that was a month ago.
Like you said, we've got to be.
I get it, but it was a common occurrence. So that's what was on my mind, is that a month ago I heard about one, 2 months ago I heard about another, 3 months ago, there's a lot of them. Okay, so water, because water and lithium ion batteries don't mix, and because there's good woods in the area, I'm just cognizant of the fact that we need to address it when there is, if, God forbid, and it's a very low possibility, that there is a thermal runaway, that our fire department gets there with the right equipment quickly, that best, these folks said that they had to be there, that they respond quickly. Is it somebody on site but that we handle it quickly so that citizens are safe and the water, it doesn't affect the wetlands. I didn't mean to offend anybody. I just think this is a medium-sized substantial battery storage unit. It could power 1,000 to 2,000 homes, depending on energy consumption, but it's not minor. And exothermic events happen. So at the very least, maybe as a commission, we should ask the fire chief to, tell us, do you have, or just to, that they need more, we need more information from the fire chief. That they communicated to them is great. I want I want the fire chief to say that that the training is adequate, that he's got handheld TICs, thermal imaging cameras, that they've got self-contained breathing, SCBA's self-contained breathing apparatus. I want to make sure that we're ready, that's all. And because of the wetlands, it's really important. And because, as you see in my site visit notes, Axel Research is a great company for Monroe. They don't have a lot of employees, but they're a manufacturer of mold release process additives and all types of plastics, composites, rubbers, and urethanes. They also have a very large nitrogen storage tank there. It's not a problem. I just want to make sure that we get to it quickly, safely.
So Commissioner Smith, would it be appropriate to have a condition of either approval or denial that it gets written, we get a report from the fire commissioner?
Right, regarding equipment needed, training needed, and fire suppression.
That
And gas stations.
could be a condition.
Just one comment. Didn't the fire marshal approve this proposal?
Say again?
The fire, Commissioner Fernandez, doesn't the fire marshal have to, or the fire chief have to approve or review it?
Review it as part of the Planning and Zoning Commission,
So that's his job.
but he does not review it as part of the wetland application.
Right, but because of the special reaction, and if you can, and I know they got monitors, but monitors are usually input-output, not thermal imaging cameras. If they have a backup system, and that's for the fire marshal to figure out, but they really do need to consider fire suppression, just like gas stations, and thermal imaging to have a backup.
What I recall, the evidence that was submitted to us was that if this thing starts to melt down, for lack of a better term, they don't spray water on it. They don't do anything except for watch it melt. And the water that they're spraying are the trees around, the grass around to make sure that it doesn't catch fire. So, you can, my opinion is they're getting trained. And if that's a condition, then, how many hundreds of thousands of these things are put around the country, and we've got three fires that we can point to maybe that are old technology. So, and this is, yeah.
Either way, if the concerns can be satisfied by the fire commissioner, then
But
the
we
fire
can't,
chief, I'm sorry.
I really strongly do not recommend putting conditions on an approval that is dependent upon town staff doing something. Like, we can't, for you to tell the fire department that they need to be trained in X, Y, and Z, and that they need to make resources in a certain way.
Agreed.
One, I don't think that's fair to the applicant. And two, we don't actually know if we can accommodate that.
That's not our area of expertise.
And again, and it's only if we believe that it will affect the wetland. And I think the concern I had heard about the wetland was the influx of water that would then go into the wetland. And if that's their response, was that most likely they would just let it burn.
Right. Can we add a condition of like maybe putting a berm around it, around the wetlands to? For any water that they're gonna dump doesn't then go in, it kind of stays.
Yeah, but then you're gonna have a puddle.
Yeah.
Commissioner Zimmerman, can I ask, so just to extend the point, Commissioner, that you had mentioned, I believe they specifically, and we can go back to the video, but I believe they specifically said, we do not spray water anywhere near those units.
That's what I heard too.
That is
Right. So there's not going to be any, if I think what Commissioner Smith is saying is that if the fire extends to the wetlands, I think that's what you're saying, because they clearly stated that they do not spray water anywhere near that. So if that's our concern, then it's a moot point at this point, right? So.
Because of its size, I believe that the wetlands are in danger of fire. The thermal runaway that happens for this size plant is huge. It's going to be national news, and I don't want it to be. But if it is, I want no fatalities. That's all. I get it, but I don't think we should just say, okay, fine, and pass it off to, we need something more from the fire. He wasn't here, or we could have asked him.
But this commission closed the public hearing. So you cannot introduce new evidence on this deliberation that the applicant then doesn't have a chance to respond to. So you can ask the fire marshal to review the application that we have to give an evaluation of how our current fire department would respond in this situation as it currently exists now. But they can't introduce new evidence that should be a correspondence back. They can do an evaluation on the current application as it exists in time at this moment, but there can be no more additional information.
I understand, but I was pursuing a line of questioning to just say, did you really talk to the fire? I just wanted to get a feeling of how much the fire department and then the fire chief was involved, and did he accept it? I just wanted to get some confirmation.
He gives them a permit ultimately, doesn't he?
Well, he reviews it as part of the planning and zoning
I
commission.
mean, it's covered under the fire code.
It does have to meet fire code.
So he's gonna
And
do his job because it's in the fire code, and he's gonna stop it when they get a building permit.
And he was part of pre-application meetings for this project and is very aware, of it. The applicant did do a very thorough job at having pre-application meetings with all of staff, including the fire marshal, in order to mitigate any concerns that they may have.
I think we got to trust that he's doing his job properly and that everything that we have control over, we've addressed, and make sure he does his part. So, because I'm with you, we want to protect everything, but we can't do his job for him. So.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but I didn't see the kind of care that we should have given this application with regard to the safety issues and the wetlands as well as the fire department lives of.
Safety isn't for the public, isn't our job.
You can say it's not our job, but I don't want to just pass it along without saying, hey.
It's not our job, but it's not the purview of this commission to worry about the safety. We're all concerned about it. It's not that we're saying we don't care. It's what we have control over.
Commissioner Fernandez, why are we questioning the fire marshal's roles and responsibilities?
Me too.
And I also believe that was mentioned that these types of potential fires with these types of battery packs absorb within themselves. They don't expand. I believe that's what we heard and what we were told, right? So given all that, if we were concerned, of course, we're concerned about safety, even though that's not the concern of this commission. I think that also, so the 2 points, right? Not going to spray any water anywhere near that. And the other thing I believe, and we could check on this, right? But I believe I heard that these types of fires absorb themselves. They don't expand out, no runaway, et cetera. I believe that's what we
They
heard.
burn themselves out.
They burn themselves out.
That's what we heard.
And they will, and from the way I heard it, that somebody from the specific company, as well as the fire department, will be there in the event something catastrophic happens to make sure that it doesn't.
And I'm not going to question how far that person is. I just want, and if you don't know it, you should. We need improved safety protocols with regard to battery energy storage system. That's why we keep having this. The industry says that themselves.
Right, but that's not necessarily the purview of.
So it's danger. Okay, but somebody needs to cue those guys that, hey, you need to take a good look at this.
Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Smith, I mean, we're all part of the public in the town of Monroe. So I feel, I don't disagree with you, but you could attend, if it's a public hearing at planning and zoning, you could attend and speak as a resident And that's something that I would encourage. But I do agree with the rest of the commissioners that this does not involve what the concerns that you're raising right now, very valid, but do not involve the wetlands, which is our purview as a commission.
Well, I can tell you one thing, I really don't appreciate the way I've been treated on this one. Because I'm just trying to do the right thing.
I do strongly encourage you to come to the public hearing though. For the
Well, Ryan, it's a good idea. I'm sorry, gentlemen, I did not I didn't mean to offend you late at night, and I'm sorry if you think that I'm questioning, but somebody needs to, he may not have the, okay, whatever.
But he's ultimately going to get to review the building permit and authorize it at that point. So if he doesn't think it's safe, he won't do it.
Just a rubber stamp. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have trust in.
Well, if the town council did, that'd be a different thing, but one of the town councilmen said to me that, hey, he's been approving a lot of things lately, so be here or there.
I mean, so have we, and people can say the same thing about us, but.
Okay.
He will
Okay.
review the planning and zoning application. We will ask him for a memo if he feels like there are any appropriate
With
comments.
regard to fire suppression equipment, training, just make sure that, are we good on all three? That's all.
I suggest that you, as a member of the public,
I will do that.
come to the
I will
public
have to do
hearing
that.
and state those, and then I think that would be, appropriate place under planning and zoning, because health, safety, and welfare is also a purview of planning and zoning, but in a little bit, in reference to the zoning regulations.
Andrew, you also discussed trees, replacing trees. I didn't see that in here.
It's not because we closed the public hearing, but their new submittal, it'll be a condition of if you choose to approve this, it'll be a condition of the approval that they add, and they've already said that they would,
Okay, so what would the condition be?
to add 3 white oak trees,
3.5,
3.5, and what I did ask them to do is state on it that those 3 trees should be planted by non-mechanical means.
Okay, so.
Because they're going to be further away, let them bring it out there with a ball cart and dig the holes by hand instead of bringing a tractor out there and making a mess.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion.
You had more than one
Oh, sorry.
condition, so if they make a motion, they need to include all 3 of your conditions.
And I have one more thing.
Let's finish hearing.
So the condition of approval would be
Oh.
posting of the bond in the amount of $18,500, which was the recommendation of the town engineer. They didn't have all the wetland markers on their plans that they should have had, so we are going to make it a condition that the wetland marker shall be installed every 75 feet. That'll be on the plans prior to SECC. And then the 3 additional white oak trees to be installed from the pad closer to the wetlands and planted by non-mechanical means. So those 2 conditions would be what we would request the commission has if they chose to make a motion to approve.
And to clarify, the planting of the 3 new trees, did we discussed it, or will they be removing the 1 large tree?
Yes.
They will be removing.
They'll be removing that tree and they will need to take that stump out as well.
2 trees that are, you said, was it 3.5?
Did I put a size on? there?
No, but per zoning regulations, they have to comply with the landscaping zoning requirements, which I believe is 3 and 3.5, which is big, but that's what the zoning regs call.
I do have one other
Go ahead.
minor condition. I asked last time and they confirmed, but I'd like to see in the operation requirements under clearing and grubbing operations. I'd like item 5 to say that clearing of invasive species will be performed by manual method only and not using herbicide or any other chemical treatment.
I think they did state that.
They did, but I just want it in the notes.
It's in there. It's in their, it's on their plans.
It is. I
Yeah.
didn't see it. Sorry.
I'll make sure
There's
that-
no harm in putting it as a condition, though. I think that's
Yep.
perfectly fine to have that as a 4th condition. Clearing of invasive species shall be by, what do you want the wording to be? By hand?
Non-mechanical means
By,
Chemical.
Manual method only, not,
and not chemical.
get some goats if they want to, I don't care, but no herbicides.
chemical means.
There's mugwort in there, they can use goats.
Actually, I'd like to ask them to go in there and do it with a sickle, I think is not.
No, they're not, but he said manual.
So non-mechanical would have to come out of there because a mower would be mechanical.
So mechanical is good. We
Yeah.
want them to chew it all up.
Well, they're bringing equipment in there to build this thing and take the stump out.
Right,
And
take the
non-mechanical
Dig a
means like by
foundation.
hand.
Dig a foundation
Yeah,
out.
or-
I mean, then say you can't,
That's what I'm-
use a mower.
That's
you
what I'm
can't use
saying.
a Mini excavator to
Let's
dig
take
in a
out-
tree. It's just
We'll
insane.
take out the non-mechanical.
No herbicide.
No herbicides, that's
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
That's fine.
Okay,
All
so
right, so
let
let's
me try again.
let's reiterate the 4 conditions so he can get this correct.
Oh, I got it.
You got him? Okay.
Make a motion that we approve what are we calling this? The decision as if read with the 4 conditions: removal of invasives, trees, markers, and
The bond
bond.
amount of 18,500.
Yes.
Okay. We have a
I
motion.
will second that motion.
We have a second. All in favor? Passes. Okay.
It was unanimous, I'm sorry.
Yes, it was. Okay. Moving on. We're now on IWC 2024-04, file number 1480, 1536 and 1564 Monroe Turnpike. Proposal 8 lot, single-family residential development and new road crossing a wetland adjacent to wetlands and water courses. Jan's Land Development LLC applicant, J. Edwards Associate LLC representative. Okay. So, just to kind of reiterate some of our thoughts from the last discussion, let's try and keep this conversation focused on inland wetland matters that we have specific purview over. There's been a lot of discussion over things that are very important to a lot of people up here, but that we really don't have specific control over. So I just want to remind everybody, let's try and stay focused on those things that we specifically can control. So that being said, let's start with Commissioner Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's worth just starting by highlighting a couple of areas that I think were still open for discussion. Not new content, but in terms of the location of the road crossing, there were a couple of different scenarios that were being discussed. One a little bit further up the hill, the original location is a little bit closer to the wetlands. And then the other that is the modified location a little bit further down the hill, a steeper slope. I think we need to kind of discuss that. I think that's an important topic. And then I also think it came up a few times, just the conservation easement versus the open space. The open space up at the top, there was a lot of back and forth about if that should be conservation or not. And so I think we need to probably clarify those things. And I think there may be many other topics that the commission wants to talk about. I just wanted to state those 2 in particular. I'm willing to start by saying my opinion on those 2 topics, if that is logical, or if you want to let everyone else highlight anything else that they think is pertinent before we get to the topic. I don't want to control the whole conversation with those 2 areas.
All right, let's give everybody a chance to give us their top level thoughts before we get too deep into the specifics. So let's keep going down the line here.
I don't have any additional comments this time.
Okay, that's fine.
I have 3 significant issues that I think should be considered in our ruling. This is real basic. The first one is that the response from the applicants with regard to a more definitive and specific ruling by the DOT as far as location. So the first item I've got is the location of the entrance to the site. The response from the applicants is that it was indeed already in the record, but the only item in the record that spurred some of these requests subsequent to it was an email from Jason Edwards to someone through CT Government, I believe it was a traffic project engineer, restating that a minimum distance is suggested for intersection spacing. Indeed, the Connecticut DOT manual states, in general, all new intersections should preferably be 400 feet apart. So numerous meetings, commissioners asked for more definitive. In his wrap-up, Dr. Clements wrote, and I reread it, that the record could be improved, that there was a letter stating from the DOT or a responsible party confirming the fact that they will allow from access from another. So what I'm saying here is it's unsatisfactory to me that the words preferred, in general, suggested, or it implies to me that there are exceptions to this statute. And what I believe we need really is a request for an actual review and determination of this application, considering actual traffic data, as well as specific environmental factors associated with the wetlands and our concerns. If we go to the DOT and ask for an exception and they say no, then okay, I get it.
I don't understand they're putting it at an intersection. So you want it to be moved where?
It's not my purview. I don't want to get into debating where I think the best entrance is, because it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the DOT means. And the door was maybe shut, but wasn't locked. They have, obviously, to me, that word says that there are exceptions allowed.
No, but I mean, what is your obviously you think there's a better option, right?
Yeah.
Better alternative to locate that intersection. Where do you think that better option would be?
Suggesting it at the other intersection nearby, Cambridge, Cottage
Street.
Ryan had suggested, I think, along the road. I don't know. There was a couple of, it doesn't matter what can it come in from any other way? The DOT, can it allow? Because all I'm trying to do is get away from the wetlands.
Right, no, I hear you. And I remember we asked on a number of occasions if there were other alternatives, and the answer was no. And they said specifically, we would prefer not to cross the wetland. We tried other ways and we couldn't, and this was our least invasive way of getting across it. So, I mean, it's not that we didn't ask them. We asked on several occasions. Because I had the same thought you did. I was like, why not cross over, off of Cottage Street, off of that intersection there, and or coming up off of Downs Road, and the conversation kept circling back to, we checked with the state and they kept saying no.
Well, no, they didn't keep saying no. The door maybe looked shut, but it wasn't locked. And an exception approving an alternative entrance could have been accepted. I'm not convinced that they wouldn't allow us to. They just said,
well, we asked multiple times, and they said it was obviously their choice to not go back to the state. So maybe they thought the door was permanently locked, but so this is the application that we have in front of us.
I'll go. That's one issue I have, and I agree with what you're saying, but I disagree that I think that I can't give approval unless I know for sure from the DOT that it's not.
We
general suggestion.
We asked, and they said they weren't going to go back.
Yeah. So I mean, you could be against the application because you think there's a better alternative.
All right. So the second issue I've got.
Well, and I'm so sorry, let me just clarify that. This public hearing was voted on because there was believed to be significant activity and public interest. If there's believed to be significant activity and this is denied because there could be a prudent or feasible alternative, the state statutes say that you have to state very detailed what you think that alternative is. So what your concerns are, it's very different from you think there's another place that it could go. If that's true, you need to really detail out where this commission would have to detail out exactly where that is. Or if you think that they didn't provide enough sufficient information, that's another conversation. So that's just something that would need to be further hashed out and clarified if we would.
And I think what's necessary there is just some traffic, is the traffic data. Because the traffic data will tell us how busy Cottage Drive is and how busy Old Zor is.
But traffic is not under that's under planning and zoning.
I have a problem, and I believe they didn't go as far as they should have. You don't agree? That's your prerogative. Get off of that. I don't want to keep pounding on one issue. And okay, Jim, I appreciate, and I really do, that you're an engineer. But concrete roads have a much shorter expected life. They do exhibit cracks and require maintenance within 20 years, but that's roads. This is not true for bridge spans. Concrete spans are commonly used in constructing bridges throughout the world. They are now expected to have a service life of 150 years, of at least 100 years by our DOT, and well-engineered systems utilizing new material mixes, improved processing and curing. They can exceed 150 years of service life. In this specific situation, they did talk about it. Attorney Russo informed us that the span is going to cost over $100,000. Well, the DOT in their project development and design manual says, as a general rule, precast, pre-stressed slabs are economical for span lengths up to 50 feet. What I don't know is whether that alternative is prudent. A concrete span. Okay?
I'm sorry if I'm out of order, but you're introducing new evidence.
Right.
That wasn't.
No, but you contradicted, you stated that, hey, it doesn't have a service life that we can accept. And the lack of familiarity by our town with bridge spans, or the only construction method they're familiar with is a four-sided culvert. That was never accepted by Dr. Clemens or anyone.
We can only go by what has been presented to us. We can't go back and say, now we need you to build a bridge. You can either accept or deny based on what's in front of us. So if you're saying, I don't accept the culvert, that's fine. But we can't go back at this point and say, we'd rather have a bridge.
Go to my next point. I think I explained what my feelings are and my reasons, and I believe that I have to stand on those. But there's a third reason. It's just a simple comment by Dr. Clements after numerous back and forth. This is a very unique ecosystem and biota due to its size, location, and terrain. Dr. Clements says it's not enough. What you guys are proposing, it's not enough. The current proposal, it's not enough. That's what he told us.
I heard it very differently. After we expanded the conservation area, he said, yeah, that's good. So his initial thoughts were, yeah, that wasn't enough. But then when we expanded it, it got bigger. And then he said, okay, that's better.
On the public record, you can hear Dr. Clements.
If I'm wrong, please, somebody.
Well, but he did not approve a four-sided, and he shouldn't approve a Disney ride at 13.5% grade, over 48 feet long. He did not give us approval for that kind of design. And the baffle design is not proven, and I looked at the research. I don't believe that we've got the best solution. I'll give it up, but I'm just telling you why
That's okay. That's why we have this conversation. This is for everybody to bring forward their comments, concerns, and opinions. So
I think we should consider a bridge span. I think we should go back to the DOT and confirm that they have to use that location. I think that it's not enough, that we need more.
Okay.
Commissioner Fernandez, just on the applicant's perspective of moving the crossroad down closer to the road to have a less impact, I think that was a good compromise. I don't have any other conversations other than, the conversation easement and the open space that Commissioner Kelly had mentioned.
Okay. All right, moving this one, Commissioner Stewart.
Oh, goody. Okay, so I think they crossed the wetlands in the narrowest spot, okay, which is generally the best way to do it, right, for the least impact. I agree that the slope is very steep. I wanted to get James DeMayo's reaffirmation that he's comfortable that the stones that they're going to be putting in this culvert are going to still be there when it's surcharged and running at full capacity.
So yeah, James DeMayo, town engineer. Yeah, I think this is one of the only ways for them to do what we were pretty much everybody's looking for in different ways. Me from the town accepting it perspective, the commission wanting it to be bed or if the foresight is to be utilized, it to be bed down. I think that the baffles are kind of the best way to do it. I've looked at their spacing. Even though it is relatively steep, they're only going I want to say it was 8 inches. So if we're thinking about the baffles, they're 18 inches high, and then for 2/3 of it, and then 12 inches high. The drop from baffle to baffle is only, I think it's 8 inches. So it's not, it should hold pretty well. I think that this is the best way. I mean, the best way to achieve the 4-sided with having a bed in it. Not that this is part of this application, but I just at least want to make it known. They are making efforts already to address other comments with the box culvert. At least the applicant is. They've started working with me to address some of the other concerns too.
But they submitted calculations showing that size stone would stay.
Yeah, so what they did is they submitted flow velocity calculations along with for the storms, along with the accepted DOT velocity rates for the size of the stones.
Okay. Okay. In that case, I'm okay with the 4-sided box. I mean, I probably, would prefer a 3-sided box. But I think that if a 4-sided box is put in and they put the rounded stones, I think and it's buried, in effect, it's going to be the same thing over time. My other comment was that they meet the openness ratio that's recommended.
That's one thing I want to bring up to you, right?
Using the correct units, which I think they were using the wrong units when they did it, and they also it seems like they calculated the size of the box, not the size of the opening once the box is buried.
Buried, right.
So they've got to do that to James DeMayo's satisfaction. Is one of the commissions I'd like to see. But other than that, I think they've met their need or met their requirements for my concern.
I mean, I have a few concerns myself, and I think primarily it's just the fact that this particular location doesn't see human foot traffic as maybe a few times every now and then, and to build this over this running area. I know it goes under the road. I know it goes into that area on the other side of 111 and it opens up and nothing can really come back in, but it's the stuff coming down. I'm more concerned about introducing the human element to that particular area. I mean, that could be, it could be a lot of different things. You're opening that up to a road. People can throw trash out of their car window into that stream that's not currently seeing garbage. I mean, you walk down 111, it's full of bottles, it's full of garbage, it's full of everything. And that might not be somebody throwing something out the window, might be falling out of the back of a truck. Then you've got snow trucks that are spreading salt. Now that salt is getting in there, which could completely change that ecosystem of that river or waterway, which then could feed down into that pipe into 111, into that big area, and change everything up there. I mean, that's my biggest thing, is just bringing that human element into a place that shouldn't really have a human element going through it. That's really my biggest concern with everything.
I'm going to jump over to James DeMayo, see if he has any additional comments to throw away.
I don't have anything specific. I'm going to try to sit back and just kind of respond to any questions that the commission has, and not really give opinions.
Okay. All right. Stand by. We may have more questions for you. Andrew, you want to chime in with anything?
I do have an opinion, but it is an opinion. I've listened to everything here. I wish I could come up with I have a fundamental problem with turning this, what was woodlands, into a development. I'm having a hard time finding a reason to tell the applicant that he can't. He has a right to build, just so, I wish I could say like this should all just stay the way it is, but I can't find a legal reason to do that. I wish I could, because I'd like to see it stay as woodlands. Any development has an impact on the wetlands. And I don't think you could really argue that this development is not going to affect the wetlands that are over there. It's a matter of, do we have a real reason? Is it a significant enough impact? And I don't have an answer to that. I have an opinion on it, but I don't have an answer to it.
I mean, my understanding is that people have the right to cross wetlands to build a development. I mean, you look around, we cross wetlands and streams everywhere. It's just, are they doing it in the most responsible manner?
Right.
And are there any prudent and feasible alternatives?
Alternatives,
Again,
thank you.
because this commission did cite the reason of potential significant activity is why it did a public hearing. The proposed activity may have significant impact on wetlands or water courses. A permit shall not be issued unless the commissioners find that the basis of the record that a feasible and prudent alternative does not exist. So you guys do need to meet the feasible and prudent alternative test because of the way the public hearing was voted upon.
The other thing that should be said is that everything we've asked the applicants to do, as far as can we do this, can we do that, can we do this, can we do that, they've addressed all of those concerns. And I think if this is going to be developed and you are going to approve it, I think the applicants that you have are going to do the right thing as best they can.
I will do
Yeah,
3 housekeeping items. If this commission does want to entertain an approval, the 3 things I would make sure are very, very clear is the location. They proposed originally 2 locations. Location 1, which was the original. Location 2 is the last set of plans. If any additional questions, go to James. He can speak a little more about it. But the first location, although there was more disturbance, the slope of the crossing was less. It was, I believe, 5% in that area. In location 2, the wetland disturbance was less, but there was a greater slope of 13% in that area, which does have potential thought processes and impacts related to it. Again, the type of crossing, just to be clear, if it's the 4-sided culvert, they did submit a double 3-sided culvert in the last round of drawings as a potential alternative. So if this commission is going to entertain an approval, I just want to be very clear what is being approved, since both of those were in the drawings. And then the location and the language of the conservation easement, just making it clear that the conservation easement, as shown on the last set of plans, is what this commission would be accepting, and the language associated with it. They submitted a draft version of that easement. If there was any other additional items and language that wanted to be put into that, or any conditions to be part of the approval.
Just, Jim was able to comment again, so I just quickly, because you asked Thomas, what's the reason? The proposed road, along with the associated retention ponds, the removal of dozens of mature trees is just simply too much disturbance. This is at the congruence of this wetlands, the most critical area. And it's not just a slice, like it was slicing out our aorta and sewing it back up again. It's this wide swath through the wetlands. So I don't know why you don't think that that's a valid reason to just, I don't know why you don't see it as a valid reason.
Again, just to clarify, the wetland enforcement officer is here from an advisory standpoint. He, is this commission that makes a decision one way or the other. Our job is to help advise you and guide you what the state statutes say and what our inland wetland regulations say, as it relates to making decisions and things of that nature.
Did our expert quantify the damage to the wetlands caused by that crossing? My understanding is that we have to actually have a quantifiable expert statement saying, this is going to cause this. And if it's done, you're gonna have this damage. And if he didn't, then us denying it based on our thoughts that it might I don't think you'd win a lawsuit.
Well, it was clear to me the impact was not sufficient. The impact was so much so that what we're proposing is not sufficient. That's what I believe, Dr. And that was said over and over and in the summation. And if we have to go back to Dr. Clemens and get him for another couple hours, then maybe we need it. But he said it's not enough.
Commissioner Smith,
And oh, by the way, just to record clear, I really appreciate the local residents and the numerous concerns that the many local residents have. And I recognize that there was a lot of efforts by the local citizens to assure that we as a commission make an informed decision. I also am very cognizant that the applicant is a master road builder and that the applicant and his team made many concessions of things that they believed were relevant to this application. So I think we really took a good look at it. I appreciate it, and I'm sorry if I offended anybody, but that's my opinion.
Commissioner Smith, this is Commissioner Kelly. I also just to add on to that last comment, I do think that this applicant has taken every effort to preserve what I view as the heart of the wetlands on this property. They've put a conservation easement on that space. They've expanded the open space area. Dr. Clemens made comment at that point that if that is all protected in the way that the applicant ultimately provided the protection underneath the conservation easement, that a lot of his concerns were completely resolved. So to the comment that you didn't use this exact terminology, I apologize, I lost it, but you said that kind of the pivotal spot in the wetlands is where we're crossing and we're slashing through that. The congruence. I don't believe that to be accurate. I think that congruence, that's over in the fingers. I think that's the most important part of the wetlands, and there is more protection being provided here in that space as a result of the conservation easement. And I do think, just as it relates to the other topics that we've been covering, location 2 in terms of the crossing, although there is a steeper slope there, I do think that it protects the wetlands more, having that be the crossing point. From my time on site, the two site visits that I was able to make, I think if we're talking about protecting the wetlands, the crossing there is the proper place to do that. Right. And I'll just to comment, Route 111 crosses that same wetlands. Maybe it's a little bit different now because there's a pipe running through it, but there is a road crossing this same wetland area downhill slightly to the left. And so I struggle to understand why that's the congruence.
Just to point out, Matt Pop did agree that the original position would require less, even though, on paper it says less because of the way that the wetlands are spread out on that second site visit. And he commented that it's his opinion also that the original position was better than the second position. And, oh, by the way, there's 30 trees to be taken out, not 36.
So I disagree with that, just from what my eyes saw in terms of this, what the true impacts to the wetlands are. And to Commissioner Sabia's point about the human interaction with that space, with the wetlands, I think being further away from those fingers in the easement is more valuable. That, to me, that is my perception of the two crossings.
Yeah, I agree. I saw the same things you did. I think there is much less impact on that second position. It's narrower. It didn't appear that there was much life already in that particular place, whereas in the other, wider spot there, you could tell there was already some activity in there from, the critters that lived there. I think the other spot was much more feasible. It's more difficult. It's going to be more challenging for them to put it in there, but I think the impact on the wetlands is less, and a good thing in this case. So.
I also, just as a side note, Commissioner Smith, you made a comment about the rounded stones, I think, when you were talking about the four-sided culvert. It was a kind of a comment in passing. It was not a central point of what you were saying. I know we talked about that. I know that that's something that Dr. Clemens suggested, but after seeing the crossing, it's jagged rock in that space where we're
Very
talking
large,
about,
yeah.
where we're talking about it going in. And so if, from Jim DeMayo's perspective, using riprap, using something that's a little bit more jagged, is a better way to prevent any kind of run out, then I support that. I think the river stone that was proposed by Dr. Clemens, I don't necessarily see the importance of that. It doesn't match the current environment. And so I don't know if I'm concerned about that.
Well, ideally, you'd use the existing
Right.
material,
Right.
if it's the right size, obviously. If it's not, if it's all sand, you're gonna put it in there, it'll all be gone.
No, it's not. They're all basketball, football side. They were
Yeah,
not
very-
small.
very
They-
jagged,
they were-
very
So, I mean, that would be an interesting, that would be a good condition that I would support, that they use as it's available, the
Use as much of the
existing material that meets the specifications as they can.
Right. And switching to the, should we go three-sided versus four-sided? I keep coming back to what's going to disturb the wetlands more or less. And based on how they were describing the installation, it's basically going to disturb them equally.
Wow.
Because,
I mean, if you put a three-sided box and you dig down and you put footings on either side, and you drop the box on top of it through the way, I mean, theoretically,
Right, but
you're
they're
gonna have,
digging-
if it's only, I mean, it depends how wide, if it's only 4 feet wide, you're gonna, you know what I mean? It's gonna be all gone
that's what I'm saying.
before you put it back together. If
Right.
it's 12 feet wide, then you
That's different,
you
right.
get something.
Right.
So in this case,
Right, that's what I'm saying. It didn't feel like there was a substantial benefit.
the big benefit that I got from the presentation is that with a three-sided box, it can erode
Right.
through it. It can move, the channel can do, and at the end of that box, you don't ever get a drop because it's all natural
Correct.
materials. You don't get that step.
Right.
That's why they say bury it, a foot or two at least.
Right.
So that it's less like,
Right, and that to me satisfied that concern, which was, two concerns. One, the three-sided has the potential to be eroded away. So four-sided from that perspective is better. But then you have the risk of that drop-off. Well, if they bury it,
then and
Then
use
you're-
the existing material.
then you're minimizing the risk of that. So I think the risk of the drop-off is a better risk than the risk of the erosion. Because you can, I think, correct the drop-off with, the town will have to go back out, do some maintenance and add some more stones and fix the drop-off, but then they're not rebuilding, potentially undermined footing. So that's the responsibility that the town is willing to take, is that they're gonna have to maintain it and make sure that we don't have, these big drop-offs. So that's trying to go 3 versus 4. That's kind of where I netted out, was with the 4. And then I also did like the addition of that higher dry pipe on the side to allow the creatures to pass back and forth without having to risk going through the steep and big rocks and all that stuff. They'll have an easy pass across. So I did like that as an addition. So.
So while I do appreciate your opinions, and I have my opinion, I don't know that they matter as much as a professional. It says in this document that was given to us by the applicant about one size does not fit all. They and this is University of New Haven, cooperative extension. Well, they're very good with regard to, it was a good article. But it says a professional consultant should always be involved in designing crossings due to the variability of site conditions and the permitting often required for plan approval. Design considerations for the species of interest should be, related to this given site location. So it's great that we have opinions, and I have a ton of respect for James DeMayo. He's a great town engineer. I'm not questioning anything there. I just think that maybe getting Clemens involved again, at least, to review the design, or, I don't know, but it says here that a professional, and I don't have the mind of a new, you guys aren't necessarily herpetologists or anything. I don't know what's going to work. I just know that the baffle design wasn't necessarily something that has been proven at all. So I would suggest that we get additional help, or that maybe at least some comments from Dr. Clements to help them with whatever you guys decide to put there.
What's our schedule for this?
You need to make a decision at the next meeting.
Oh, at the next meeting.
At the next meeting.
At the very latest,
At
that's
the
your
very
35
that it
days.
is to the day.
But we can't.
You can continue this, you
Right,
can
we can
continue
finish,
this
but we can't
deliberation.
invite
You cannot get new,
back there.
you cannot
can't
ask
ask them
for
to come back.
more
Right.
information.
He's still staff, right?
He can do an evaluation on the most recent material that was.
No new material to be introduced.
I'm saying that since his last attendance at a meeting, they have resubmitted an application, which he has not seen. He could review it from the sense of like means and it like, was it done properly? Evaluate, he can't introduce new information, but he could technically review.
That's not, he already told us what he thinks, so can't he tell us again?
I believe he can.
Yeah.
As long as he's already issued a report. It's not a report from a new party. And it's on the newest piece of submitted information from the applicant, which he hadn't seen or given comments on yet.
But he can only review the record. He can't, and he has to edit himself. Let's hypothetically say there was a new report that came out this morning, related to whatever. He can't use that information in his memo to you, but he could review the record as it sits at the moment.
So, all right.
And against his previous report. I think
And against
What
his
would we be
previous-
seeking from?
Yeah, that was my question. What are we trying to,
He's going to be evaluating the same information that he has, so he's going to come up with
Right.
the same summation.
that's kind of where I was
So,
going with this.
I was just,
I think there's some information that came up that would be new for him, because the last time he was in the meeting, he had mentioned something about the water going under the road, and then he didn't know where it went. And he was told at that meeting that it goes into a pipe and it goes all the way down, but it doesn't go right from a pipe all the way down. It does open up into another area, because he had said if it does just go right into a pipe and goes all the way down, then it's a different story.
Right.
There's no problem. But he doesn't have an answer. He was not given an answer of what is actually on the other side.
But he did, I think
Yeah,
they
he-
did go through it all.
He didn't get the last presentation gave that more detailed layout of the piping system that is downstream. He hadn't seen that, but his goal that he had said to staff was his summation was to give the commission an understanding of the things that they should really look at and to put into consideration. And I do believe, the applicant gave you that response of what was happening downstream so that you could take that into deliberations, which
And
were.
also, I mean, there was that 10, 12-inch drop off right out of the pipe coming right from underneath the road. So,
Which he was unaware of.
right. So there really isn't an opportunity for anything to go from whatever's on that side of the
Unless,
11 to
Yeah,
come back.
but my thing is again, we're not lizard experts or anything like that. They might be breeding in that area and then traveling downstream to another area and staying there. It's entirely possible. I mean, I know plenty of animals that do that. So it's entirely possible that they start off spawning in one area and then move somewhere else in a migratory path as it goes.
And I think that the current design still allows for that. It's not that it's going to be a wall and they can't do.
Well, right. But I think it would just be, I mean, I agree with the idea that maybe we just need to have him take a look one more time, just because he is a professional in this sort of manner. That's all I'm saying.
so just,
What
I'm looking for.
One second. Before we commit to having him review, I think we need to make sure we can, because I'm
Again,
not so sure we can
I'm not
get comments from him. I
So,
don't
so in
think we can.
theory, like at this point in deliberation, staff can provide you information.
Right.
You know, if you have requested it, we can't expand the record. So he can't add new information.
Right, that's why I don't think we can talk to him about it.
So he's gonna have to edit the way that he writes a report. Like he would not be able to write a report in the way that he would if it was during the public hearing. He can,
Looking for a report.
he can only review things in the sense of was the additional information that was created done appropriately? You know, like was the information collected in a scientifically appropriate way as it relates to wetland biologists? But he can't introduce new things. So the question to this commission is, based on the limited scope, which I believe he can comment on, is that of value to this commission?
I'm not sure what he's going to be able to tell us, given such narrow parameters. I mean, I'm not opposed to speaking to him. I just don't want us to.
Specific questions. I think you need to, what are the
Right.
specific questions we would
If you
ask?
need him to clarify something, that's one thing. To just say, so what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be-
appropriate. I don't think that'll fly.
Correct. It wouldn't be a blatant review. And again, he would have to edit
So.
in some capacity.
Our contract with him, is it not expired? So
It is done.
There would be a tremendous amount of legwork, but again, I want this commission to feel comfortable.
So, okay, so both you guys expressed interest in hearing from him again. Other than in a general nature, do you have specific questions that you'd like him
Before we
to?
do that, can we let James has been trying to say a couple things. James, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, so I think the clear direction could be phrased in a way that the commission is requesting Dr. Clemens to update his existing report based upon the new information. That way, if any of his existing concerns have been addressed, he can indicate such. If he still has anything outstanding, that will be denoted as continued to be outstanding. And then that way it's a clear direction based upon all the changes. Because I agree, there has been a lot of changes throughout this whole process. It is difficult to keep track of, you know, what he said or one individual may have said in one specific meeting. But at least this way, it will give the commission a clear cut understanding of where he is currently at.
if I could highlight just the one concern that I have about that, and this is Commissioner Kelly, that makes sense, but he's going to interpret what has been introduced, and he's going to provide us his opinion on that interpretation, and nobody is allowed to respond to clarify for him a misunderstanding,
Right.
which creates a lot of additional risk as
Yeah,
well.
Which is why he can't introduce anything new, because the applicant has the right to respond to new information.
There's a nuance to that because he's going to, his summation is his opinion. We asked for his expert opinion. That's what he provided us, his opinion. And so he's going to provide his opinion on additional information, and there's not an opportunity to clarify misunderstanding.
It would have to be fact-based. You know, he had asked for additional information downstream. His response would be, they provided additional information downstream. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what James is saying. He's updating his memo. So again, the question to this commission is, based on the scope of what he's allowed to respond, do you feel like it's of value? Do you feel like?
I would like to hear what specifics you guys
Chairman
want.
asked me a question. So what I was thinking is, you know, I understand exactly, and I'm not trying to step on any toes. I'm just looking for maybe proposed design enhancements. The second tunnel should be 12 feet, at least 12 feet apart. You know, just some minor things that they would suggest.
It's too
Those
late
are
for that.
opinions. Those
We
aren't
can't do that
facts.
now. It's too late.
Those are
Of Dr.
opinions.
Clemens, based on the new, on the, well, okay, well, if that's the case, then I guess that's the case.
I think when it comes to the fact that you can't add new information in, at least getting, just having him update without adding anything new in from him, but him just updating with all the information that's been presented since he has not been in the meetings. 'Cause
Listen,
there has-
James, the mayor just
So what are the critical things that you feel he was not aware of before that he should be aware of now to be able to update his opinion? Like, what are the things that might change?
The only thing that is coming to my mind right now is just the other side of where the water comes out on 111, because I know it was stated that, you know, there was a lot of confusion in that instance, but he did mention that if it went into a pipe, the story is moot. It's what.
Right, no, I understand that.
He's not concerned.
He's not
Right, it's
concerned.
not concerned, right.
So, but he wasn't given the full, he doesn't know what was there. So I understand that he can't add more to it, but just I know that he can't add more to it, but to just update on how he feels in his opinion with the evidence that was presented, with the facts that had been presented.
Okay.
Before the closing.
I mean, just looking in from the outside, isn't the word update kind of synonymous with new, right? Like,
Right.
you know, I don't know how you would, right? Because I think what I'm hearing, right, is all you could do is maybe the commission could ask questions and he would take his write-up and say, without speaking, I'm highlighting this line, this line, and this line. Right? That's not adding any new information, but it's already in the information that the commission already has. Right? So if we've already got that information, how long would it take to pull him back since his contract or whatever is expired?
This commission has to make a decision 35 days after the close of the public hearing. We have an additional 65 days to use amongst the entire process, and I believe we used
Refused.
all 65.
On the 14th, all 65 will be done. Yes.
14th of November.
Of November. Yeah.
So we have 1 day left.
Yeah.
So this commission, in order to meet statutory requirements for a decision, has to make a decision on.
By the next
13th.
meeting.
By the next week.
Yep.
Just real quick. Exhibit 57, the latest and greatest design, has not been seen by Dr. Clements. So I just wanted comments on.
All right, it's enough.
Okay.
Okay, enough.
Commissioner.
Good. I'm just saying, that's what I'm saying. There is information he hasn't seen, you know, specifically, you know, the additional tunnel that was a good improvement to, yeah, I'm just pointing out, he didn't see it. Public.
Commissioner Stewart, do you have specific questions? Because you also.
No, I don't. I just
Proposing.
believe that he could come back and tell us clarify what he had said during the hearing. I agree with you, writing another report, probably not, because it's new information. And the applicant can't comment on it, but he could come, in my opinion, he could come back and say, you know, this is what I said, and this is what I meant when I said it. But I don't know what that's gonna do for me at this point. So, doesn't mean I support it, I just thought I could do it.
I'm looking at at Dr. Clemens' original report right now, and in the bullet 2 proposed stream crossing. Not reading through the whole thing, but he says, right, the proposed stream crossing area is eroded, references photo 1, and is not optimal to support stream salamanders when compared to the hillside seepage areas. So again, that was a big concern of his, was the dusky salamanders. That is not at this crossing area. That's not the area of concern for him, right? I don't know that I understand going back to him and asking for more information about the pipe crossing on the other side and the way that it runs is going to dictate it. And I just don't know what I see us getting out of that. We asked about that. We inquired about it. The information was provided to us. He expressed that would change things. And I think that we can all interpret what he meant by that can change things. And so I don't see, I think he provided us a lot of really valuable, useful information. I think he helped steer the conversation, which led to us asking additional questions throughout the application. I don't know what his return to the conversation, unless there's something that, like, it's not even like if we're asking for clarification on something that he already stated or something to that effect. But I don't think that that's what the commission is talking about right now.
And just to be clear, the language that was used was he hasn't approved this. Dr. Clemens does not prove or deny. This commission approves or deny based on the record that was presented in front of you, which includes the expert information provided by Dr. Clemens.
Well, we were debating sharp versus smooth stones, things like that. I just thought he would have an opinion and also about the location and size of the pipe. But if you guys don't disagree, you go forward with what you think is appropriate.
It's not a question of agreeing or disagreeing. It's a question of, is it appropriate to have him back in this conversation? And no, it's not appropriate. It's up to, we have the information that we need. We can't ask him different questions. We can't introduce new evidence. The protocols. So are we okay with moving forward at this point? I think we need to make a motion to either continue this or approve it or deny it. We're at the point where I don't know if there's any more discussions. Are we first okay with, I guess, the 3-sided versus 4-sided, where I think I'm okay with the 4-sided. Does anybody have a specific opinion on the 3 versus 4?
No, I don't.
Anyone else? No? Okay, so I guess we'll settle on the 4.
Yeah, I was not convinced that the 4-sided is going to destroy the environment. I guess that's my perspective on that.
Right. Okay, so then the other big question was location 1, which is the original, versus location 2, which is the current location on the plans. I personally think 2 is a better location. Does anybody else have an opinion on that? Short answer.
Already stated Matt Pop's opinion. He agreed.
Yeah.
I agree with location number 2.
Okay.
For the reasons stated earlier.
Okay. Were there any other outstanding questions of choices that we needed to provide?
The conservation easement, the applicant put forward a draft. If you guys thought that language was generally appropriate, I don't think it's worth hashing out the word for word, but if you felt like there was a category of which you wanted them to expand upon and were okay with with staff executing that, that would be something that could be taken into consideration as a condition.
I actually made a note and still have this document in front of me. There was one paragraph in the grant of easement. It's 1, 2, 3. Paragraph 4 says this easement agreement shall not be amended or abandoned without the written consent of the town of Monroe and the prior approval of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission, period. We need to add and Inland Wetlands Commission. And in terms of the easement versus the open space, I do support the idea of the corner in the top right area that is near Doris, I believe, remaining open space versus conservation easement. That is something that Dr. Clemens commented on and said that that's not an area of concern for him. Said that he feels that it's far enough away from the seepage areas. That was his comment on record. And so I think having that open space sounds like it probably matters to planning and zoning. It probably provides certain access points to the town of Monroe as potentially needed. And so I like the idea of that remaining, that corner as it's presented right now, remaining open space, but not conservation easement property.
Just for clarification,
Yes.
you're not making that determination based on what you think the Planning and Zoning Commission might
I think
want
it's-
or not want. You're basically
making
stating
it-
you don't think.
I'm making it because I don't think it's relevant to the wetlands to make it conservation.
You don't think it's required in order to mitigate the impact to the wetlands.
That is correct. The rest is just, I guess you could say,
Are there any other options that we needed to go over, or choices, or?
And the town engineer recommends a bond amount of 85,770. James, that is I think that's the last that's on your memo. I just want to make sure there's nothing else. 85,770. So I think if I'm listening to things we've discussed is, use existing stone, that meets any existing stone that's of similar size. I would maybe add to use it as the top layer to the extent possible.
Right.
So, meet the openness ratio to the satisfaction of the town engineer. Conservation easement, add the additional, Inland Wetland Commission as an approval authority, in the language, and a bond amount in the amount of 85,770. And then your discussion on the open space area didn't result in any sort
The
of
application itself
condition.
shows it as open space, so I think it's fine.
Point of clarification, so I believe it was James put together, or we got in our last packet, a pink and an orange determination of open space versus conservation.
That was from me, and all that was a discussion point of what was discussed several meetings ago of basically what was conservation easement and what was required or being proposed as part of open space. And that was just that was just for the commission to say the conservation easement should be including pink and orange, or just part of orange or whatnot. I think we are so many iterations past that now, and that applicant has drastically expanded that conservation easement area that's unfortunately not really relevant because they've made so many revisions since then.
I'm just a little confused of what is and what isn't, based on the iterations.
It was the hatched area that was presented in the last presentation.
What page are you referring to?
This is L-2. That shows the hatched area.
We did submit their
Yes.
The third page, I believe.
Right, what I'm not sure about is the, it looks like there's, lot 7 has, wetlands in it. So that's not,
Yes, there was a small portion of wetlands in lot 7 that I do not believe was part of the conservation easement. I do think you're
the
correct.
wetlands in 1, 2 is not part of the, in lot 1, because the dimensions of the lots, I don't know if you have realized it, the dimensions have changed with each iteration to some degree. And I'm not debating or, I'm just saying that I'm just wanting clarification that there is wetlands in 1 and 8.
7 and 8.
Yeah, 7 and 8. Well, no,
Yeah,
It
7 and 8.
abuts 8.
it abuts. Okay.
It's in 7 and it's in 1 with a crossing.
Correct.
It would be more appropriate when the actual application comes in if they're doing we could ask them to put, there are 2 options for like additional delineation, which is we have spoken preliminarily, staff has about like a conservation actual delineation. If some of that area, let's say we're talking about the difference between the open space and where the conservation easement begins in the middle of the woods, it's really hard for even myself, who can read plans, to walk in and be like, oh, this is probably where the conservation line is. We can put some conservation markers up if this commission feels appropriate. We could also ask them to put the wetland delineation markers on the back of that, because there is a chance that when that lot gets developed, if they're not doing any work in the upland review area, that they wouldn't actually come in front of the Wetlands Commission to do for any sort of approval, or go for an agent approval for that, in which case then they wouldn't be required to delineate the wetlands. So we could potentially ask that delineation be done.
I think we should ask for that delineation.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, one more point of clarification on that. The applicant did provide a detail for a fiberglass post for the delineators. That's probably one of the longest duration in terms of time, and it's not going to rot, it's not going to fall over, that type of thing. So they did include that. However, I do believe as the commission, you need to make a determination on how often you would like to see that. I don't think that was ever really talked about.
What's an appropriate amount?
We do the inland wetland markers every 75 feet as a point of
As a standard?
standard.
Yeah, so every 75
Exact-
feet is correct. I would kind of think in this, if it's like for foot traffic, I kind of think they should be closer
I
together.
was just gonna say, you want to make sure,
75 foot might get lost.
yeah, you might want to make sure they're in a few different key places. 75 sounds like a little,
It is a lot.
We can say to the satisfaction of the inland wetland enforcement officer, we can say approximately every 50 feet. And then he would just make sure they're like at corners where, lines,
Where the direction
change when there's a
changes.
change of direction and things of that nature.
Yeah, just keep in mind that there are some sections in the back, in the woods, that's up against wooded properties and things like that, I don't know if you want to, call out, for low foot traffic areas, potentially be 150 feet apart or something like, I don't know. I don't know if you guys want to go that deep into it, but just, keep in mind, there are some high foot traffic areas and some not so high foot traffic areas. So it's not a one size fits all.
And that condition just be at
At the discretion.
the discretion of the wetlands agent,
yeah.
Markers approximately happy with the.
so that they need to vet that out for placing them.
Areas.
I think that's probably best, right? Because that'll give you the capacity to, like.
If I feel if there's a spot where they really should be every 25 feet, then they'll be 25 feet.
Okay, I would still like to put some numbers in because I do think it's fair to the applicant to have them understand what's required of them in general. So conservation markers approximately every 50 feet with additional markers in higher foot traffic areas with a final approval of location, quantity, and separation distance by the inland wetland enforcement officer.
Sounds appropriate.
And then the additional wetland markers at lot 7
And 8.
and 8. I'm just gonna say basically as approved by the inland wetland enforcement officer, because I don't think those areas are really that big. So it would be more like probably at the property lines, maybe one in between, depending on what the length is.
Kathleen, I would include lot 1 in there as well with the new lot.
Right. All right, additional wetland markers at lot 7, 8, and 1, as approved by the inland wetland enforcement officer.
Good.
You guys want another summary
Why don't we
so that you know?
quickly go through all those things? Yep.
First condition, use of existing stone that meets the proposed dimensional requirements to be utilized at the top layer to the extent possible. Let's say at the
The four-sided culvert,
yeah, let's do that.
very specific.
Sided culvert crossing. I think it's pretty clear in the record and in the description. You'll make very clear notes as to the location that was approved and the size of disturbance and things of that nature based on it.
And the 4-sided with the openness to the, with the openness for the
Side tunnel.
the side tunnel.
With the side, yeah. Meet the openness ratio to the satisfaction of the town engineer. the conservation easement, add inland wetland commission, to the conservation easement language as an approval authority, and any changes, I believe it had something to do, changes as well. Yeah, what was the language? The language was to change the conservation easement. Is that what it was?
The proposed conservation easement agreement, in the grant easement, in paragraph 4, to change the first sentence to be Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission and Inland Wetlands Commission.
Paragraph 4, first sentence to add the inland wetland commission. Bond in the amount of 85,770. Conservation markers approximately every 50 feet with additional markers in high foot traffic areas with the final approval of location, quantity, and separation distance by the inland wetland enforcement officer. And additional wetland markers at lot 7, lot 1, and 8 as approved by the inland wetland enforcement officer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, amended or abandoned without the written consent of the town of Monroe and prior approval of that, yes. So it's for amended or abandoned.
Kathleen, while you're in there, I want to throw two things at you. One, I forgot that. So the bond number is 39,500. That number's from the previous location. So it had more disturbance and things like that.
Beautiful.
What was that?
Said beautiful.
Yep. Well, that and then the I still have some outstanding comments. So I don't know if we want to also add that as a condition of approval.
Yes. So adhere to the comment memo from the town engineer. Does October 8th, 2024 sound correct? As your last memo?
No, I have one after that.
Do you know what the date of it is?
10/9. It was literally the next day.
Beautiful. Adhere to the comment memo of the town engineer dated October 9th, 2024. All right, so to satisfy the outstanding comments, all right, so does this satisfy the outstanding comments on the memo from the town engineer dated October 9th, 2024? I don't know, do we need to say, because does that memo have the new bond amount in it?
That was the only thing that changed, was the
Got
bond.
it, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that that didn't have a conflicting bond amount in it, that it would be confusing on which one, although we're calling it out on this. Okay, great. Good.
Any other comments to add? No? Okay. We need a motion. We're gonna make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the application with the conditions as highlighted.
1 through 7 as
1 through 7, conditions 1 through 7 as discussed by the commission to be satisfied, and to clarify with the crossing point number 2, four-sided box.
And probably the general conditions as well.
The general,
And well, general conditions.
Also including the general condition. So I make a motion to approve the application under satisfaction of the 7 conditions highlighted at crossing number 2 with the 4-sided culvert, also including the general conditions.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kelly to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor? Aye.
We might need to do a roll call. Can we do a roll call just for,
Sure thing. So I guess we'll start at the end. Commissioner Fernandez. All in favor?
Favor?
Favor? Commissioner Smith?
Hello.
Are you,
Commissioner Zamri, so, Mr. Chairman, there's a vast amount of information here. As a new commissioner just coming on board, in fairness to both the applicant and the public, I will abstain from a decision.
Commissioner Kelly?
In favor?
Commissioner Stewart?
Aye.
Commissioner Sabia?
No.
And Chairman Lindstrom is in favor. 4 to 2
4 to
to
0, or 1.
4 to 2 to 1.
4, 2, 1, the motion passes.
Motion passes, right?
And I know this has already been summed up, but a very large thank you to this commission for all the time, effort, and energy and thoughtfulness you put into it. A big thank you to the public for civic engagement, and a big thank you to the applicant for, so many revisions that they had made in order to get to the current design.
Okay.
Subdivision.
So because this passed, this was just for the regulated activity. This commission also has to vote on a subdivision referral because it was a subdivision application that came in front of you. So the motion would just be for a positive referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the proposed subdivision.
What is that? Can you just specify
that a
what
little bit, what that
that
means.
represents?
So the way the state statutes are written out is that if there is a wetland on a subdivision application in any way, shape, or form, it has to come to this commission, even if there's not a regulated activity being proposed as part of the subdivision. So if there was a subdivision that had no disturbance to the wetlands and no disturbance to the upland review area, it would still come in front of this commission for a report that goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission when they review the subdivision application. So this commission was both looking at it from the inland wetland activity that was being proposed, which was the actual disturbance to the wetland and upland review area. If you guys did approve this, then a subdivision report is also required according to our inland wetland regulations and the state statutes. So I would argue that if you're willing to accept the regulated activity.
Willing to accept the subdivision. But we have to motion vote on it.
Yes.
We have a motion. Can we give
A
a
motion for-
very succinct?
A motion to request the subdivision referral.
No, a motion for a positive subdivision referral.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a
Commissioner Fernandez.
Commissioner Fernandez seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
We don't have unanimous, so if we could do a roll call again,
That
Roll
would
call for sure.
be great.
starting with Commissioner Fernandez. Are you in favor?
In favor?
Okay. Commissioner Smith?
Not in favor.
He's not in favor. Okay. Are we abstaining again?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Commissioner Kelly?
In favor? Aye.
Aye.
No.
And I'm in favor. 4 to 1 again.
4 to 2, yeah.
And I have 2 seconds to make notes.
Want us to take a 5-minute break?
No, I need just want to make sure
Heaven forbid, take a break.
it is correct.
Taking a break, please.
That's up to you guys. If you guys need a break, you can take a
You guys
break.
want a break? I can recess for 10 minutes if you want.
It might be long.
How about we do a 5-minute recess?
Sounds good.
Now I regret that.
That is, I'm muted.
Wednesday nights is.
All right. We are back. Okay.
In session.
Moving on to bond release. So we have 45 Greenfield Hill Road, request for release of $15,000 bond.
Yep, so we got a request for a release of the bond. I went out, I've received their written request. I've also received a final as-built. And I went out and inspected the site, and the site is stabilized. Request to release the bond of $15,000.
Okay. We need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion, request release of bond.
We have a second?
I'll second.
You got a second? Good.
His names.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. All right, moving on to agent activities report. There's lots on that list. Take it over.
There is lots. So IAA 2024-17, 70-90 Huntingtown Road. This is a property that was affected by the storms. It is the lower half of Gusky Pond, and it's been washed out. The request was to go ahead and restore back to what it was. There was plastic pipes, there was trees down. Me and the town engineer went out. You had already previously given me approval to do an agent approval on it. So I did an agent approval on it, and it's going to be a while before they even start that work. But when they do, I'll be back out there. One of the conditions of the approval was that I go out there pre-construction, evaluate what they're doing, and post-construction. Moving on, I can move on from one to the next.
Yeah.
IAA 2024-20 is 8 Fox Run. Addition to an existing foundation to accommodate a new attached garage and front porch within the Upland Review area. This is a house that burned down on Fox Run. The new owners or the owners are proposing to add on to the foundation to accommodate a new garage and a front porch. All the disturbance is 56 feet outside of a mapped wetlands. The conditions of approval that I gave them was that they put up appropriate silt fences with pre and post construction inspections and wetland markers to be installed in the back, and all excavated soils to be stored outside the URA, the Upland Review area, and surrounded with silt fences.
So where's the garage going?
The garage is going off to the right of the existing foundation, which is,
Fox Run, and
yep, Fox, you know exactly, yep, Fox Run.
there's a shed there.
The shed is outside the Upland Review area, so not in our purview,
Garage is closer to the URA or closer to the road?
closer to the road.
Okay.
Yep. And they're expanding the front porch, so that needs a foundation, but again, that's on the front side of the
That's
house.
good. I know this property.
Yep, you do. So I gave them an agent approval on that. Their 15-day appeal period is over tomorrow, I believe. Any other questions on that?
Thank you.
IAA 2024-21, 624 Fan Hill Road. The installation of a generator pad at the rear of the house with a buried line that feeds the generator to the house. It is within the Upland Review area. All the disturbance to the soil is 80 feet off of mapped wetlands. Conditions of approval conditions of the approval were a silt fence to be installed around the downhill side of the disturbed areas while the digging was taking place and until the site is stabilized. All excavated soils to be deposited outside of the URA. Any questions? IAA 2024-22, 560 Hammertown Road. If you remember, this came before you as an enforcement item. The original application was approved pre-COVID. There were health reasons why the applicant didn't follow through with the conditions of the approval, which made the application null and void. The applicant then went ahead and sold the property. The new owner of the property is proposing to resubmit the whole application, but would like to get started on some work right away. So the work that he wanted to get started on right away, that I thought we could do an agent approval on, was the installation of a septic system, a well, and a gravel turnaround, all within the upland review area, 50 feet outside the wetlands. So he's taken a pause on the rest of the work, but he wanted to get his septic in, which has been inspected or has been approved by the town engineer, and the gravel turnaround and the well, all outside or far enough outside the URA. Questions? 560 Hammertown. IAA 2024-23 is 128 Barn Hill Road. Removal of a large sugar maple within the upland review area. So this is a 48-inch or so sugar maple that is in the front yard of a house that is going to be demolished and rebuilt. It's a very significant tree, but it is, upon inspection, it is infested with insects, and it's really in a state of decline. So it's a large tree. It is 50 feet outside the mapped wetlands.
How close to the road is it?
It is 20 feet off the road.
The risk of it coming across?
There's a risk of it coming down. There's also a risk of the branches right now are overhanging the existing home, which is going to be demolished anyway, but a new home is going to be built.
Right.
So there's a number of reasons to justify taking down such a tree. I saw no need to plant new trees in its place because the whole lot is very wooded anyway.
Is the home, sorry,
Go ahead.
Say again.
home in the URA as well?
No,
Okay.
no. The way it sits, the tree is like sitting right here, and the upland review area goes right around it. Yeah.
I'll put the new house is going to go in pretty much the same location as the old one.
Yes, and a little further away. So it's going to be expanded upon, but it's not going any closer.
So just a point, Tim, are we gonna hold any chips? Hey, we may ask for additional trees or anything,
So no, that's what I had just said. I didn't ask for any additional trees to be planted because the lot itself is heavily wooded outside of this area. So I don't see the need.
good, no, great, thank you.
All right, that takes care of all the agent approvals I've worked on, and now we're into enforcement. And again, this is just bringing all of this to your attention. 68 East Village Road, we had the homeowner, so I followed up on that. We're still waiting on a soil scientist to come out and evaluate where the actual wetlands are.
He's reached out, he's just waiting for.
He has reached out, and I followed up last week and told him if he doesn't get back to me this week, I'll follow up with him at the end of this week, and I'll continue to follow up with him at the end of every week until I see that he's signed a contract with him. And then we have 66 East Village Road, where a complaint was filed that he was dumping wood chips within the upland review area. I sent a request for a voluntary inspection. He's very compliant. Come on up. I went up, I looked, sure enough, there is wood chips in the upland review area. So we put together a remediation plan for that, and we're not going to start that until spring of 2025 due to the fact that we're so late in the season. I'm going to ask him to remove all those wood chips by hand, get him out of the upland review area, seed, hay. That's not going to take, it's not going to germinate this late in the season, so we requested all of that stay as is, do not touch it until spring.
That property next door,
Yes, it is.
We know these neighbors. Just a question about the wood chips. Were they commercial or they're?
No, they were from the site, and the stumps were still there from the trees that they came from, and I also told them not to remove those stumps, to leave them the way they are.
Thank you. Got it.
Let's see, 30 Pepperidge Road.
Skipped Elm Street.
82.
Skipped.
82 Elm Street.
Voluntary compliance completed.
Oh, I'm sorry, didn't even have that on there. So yeah, 82 Elm Street was, we saw this before. We issued a voluntary compliance. They were storing vehicles in the back, in wetlands. They put a driveway in there. They put millings. We're storing vehicles. I've been following up on that, and they've done all that we had said for the remediation plan. So they removed all the millings. They've seeded, they planted the right number of plants. So, and that site is stabilized. So 82 Elm Street is a non-issue. 30 Pepperidge Road, clearing vegetation. So this one's going to come about. I went out for an inspection. There was a complaint that this property was expanding their driveway into wetlands areas. I did a voluntary inspection. They said, come out. I came out, I looked, and sure enough, I actually have a feeling that they're getting the back property line surveyed because I think they're actually well onto somebody else's property. So that I went right to a violation. A letter of violation went out this week and asked the owner, requested that the owner come and present himself to you at the next meeting. So you will be seeing him at the next meeting. He's being very compliant. However, upon further investigation, I found out that he had the same violation about 10 years ago. So to claim that he doesn't know is not an okay.
Same person too.
Same owner, yes. And I haven't let them know that yet because it just came to my attention, but I will let them know that there was a previous violation and they should be prepared to talk about that. Any questions on that? It's pretty significant. I mean, there's a driveway in there. They appear to be operating a nursery back there. So there's irrigation lines in there. There's driveway, there's firewood being stored, there's a machine, there's
Outside of an agricultural exemption?
They would have to apply for that, which they haven't, so. Yeah, they'll present themselves at the next meeting and you'll decide what to do.
From a zoning perspective, landscapers has its own definition of a use, and that's not permitted within a residential zone. So thinking about them being together, they have to rectify the use violation. And as part of that, it means they're going to have to take out that use, of which case then there could be potential wetland remediation associated with that. So let's see what they have to come to say, but obviously the zoning enforcement officer is dealing with the use violation.
So there's zoning violations and wetland violations, but really we need to find out where that rear property line is. And it's not clear. So they have they've contacted a surveyor, and that's going to be done in the next couple of weeks. Moving on, 590 Main Street is a property where there are RVs being stored in the back of a commercial building, on the lawn, and very close to wetlands. I issued a letter of violation this
You issued
week.
a letter of violation or voluntary compliance?
Nope, violation.
Okay.
I was going to do a voluntary compliance, but we've had issues, so I went right to a violation. It went out this week, and asked the owner, I requested the owner to be present at the next meeting.
Where is?
Yeah, 590 is fine.
Art Center.
Right behind Aubuchon, but there's a good grassy area. It's very clear. Everybody knows that they shouldn't be in there, except they parked a couple of 30-foot or whatever, large RVs. So I saw them working on them today. I don't know what they were doing. I didn't say anything to them.
There's 4 of them sitting there right now, and the fear is that there will be more.
They also have several zoning violations on that property at the moment.
Yeah, you're talking about the gas station?
All of it.
Yeah, the gas station, I was
The
gonna,
automobile repair shop. There's no gas station there, but the automobile repair shop. And they're renting out spaces for the RVs, which is not a permitted use.
right.
Which is why I went right to a violation.
It used to be a gas station on the corner. That's what.
It used to be an auto repair shop. It's a grandfathered use.
It was a gas station a very long time.
Maybe, yeah.
They wanted to make,
Center shell.
they wanted to make it a body shop, and it was turned down from zoning. But I did see a truck with a car on the back that had just been banged up. It was parked there for a number of days. I don't know what they're doing, but I mean, it was part of the problem is that they didn't want leaking cars that had been in crashes to, go down to into the upper view area.
It's more of an issue of they shouldn't be working on commercial vehicles.
Well,
That's truly the violation. So it should.
it's all right. It's all
Really just
vehicles, right?
And they have to be doing the work in the enclosed building, and they're doing repair work outside, which is a potential wetland impact. But the zoning violation is where it's really clear that they can't be.
That particular property does go downhill at
Conducting
a
business.
quite degrade, so that was the reason why. So, okay. Yep, thank you.
You never hit unrecord. See that little red button up there? So go.
Awesome.
We have to do it all over again?
No. You guys have never had to do that. Full disclosure, I've made the planning and zoning commission do it.
We've done it before.
I once missed record
Maybe
by
not with
15
you, but
minutes.
we've done it.
I've once hit record, I missed record for 15 minutes. We had to redo the first 15 minutes all over again. It has happened to the best of us.
Which, I have a question about our last recording, was only 3 hours and didn't talk about battery engine the storage systems. What
I
happened?
think it got separated into 2. Did it not get uploaded? I think it was too long and it got separated into 2 videos. Did both not get
They were both
uploaded?
uploaded.
They were?
Yeah, they were.
I've not been able to- I could only find the one.
I didn't see the second one.
Yeah,
I can check with IT. The issue is I think it separated because it was too long.
I appreciate it.
Let's try and keep them under 3 hours from now, so they're not working apart.
Time to accelerate.
Yeah,
Yep.
almost done.
I'm done.
Okay,
I do know that we have records of it because that's how we make the meeting minutes. So I know it exists.
all right.
Thank you.
So skipping down to minutes.
Minutes.
Yeah, so I reviewed the minutes for September 25th meeting as well as October 9th meeting, which was a thick one. Everything, I didn't see anything out of place unless anybody else had anything that they saw. So I'm okay with having a motion to approve those.
I did see one thing and with regard to what we just described, and that's why I was looking for it. I want to review the tape on battery engine. It says nothing about my question with regard to safety or fire or anything. Doesn't even mention that it came up.
We can add that. And if you would like, we can have Carrie review that part of the video and propose some language, and we can pause and vote on this at the next meeting once she's had a chance to draft some of that additional items in. That's not a problem.
So we can approve the September 25th minutes unless anybody else has any issues with those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 25th.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Sabia. All in favor?
Abstain, I believe.
Two abstentions?
Abstention.
2 abstentions?
Abstentions.
1 second. Sorry. Okay.
Are we in a space at this moment where there may only be one November meeting?
I think there only is one.
Oh, there is.
For IWC, yes, I believe, because of Thanksgiving and the way it falls, you guys only have one November meeting.
So our next meeting is 14th?
13.
13th? 13th.
We won't have any meetings? Won't be enough
The
on the agenda?
13th.
One regular here?
13th and 11th.
We got 1 meeting for November.
And there's nothing on the agenda right now?
One regular hearing, just the one that we voted on.
You'll have a couple of people, but no, there'll be nothing on, there'll be nothing of, substance.
The agent approved it, that's right.
There will be some agent approvals, I'm
I'm
sure.
thinking there won't be any.
I was thinking that we
quorum on
move to regular, the meeting, the hearing terminated tonight. But we
There will be,
agreed that that should be agent.
right,
I
about that, about the.
on my first.
How about
withdrawal
everything
of
is
a
agent
motion.
approval for the next meeting?
Wait, no, so let's, I don't know everything that's coming because I haven't been here this week, but let's think about this real fast.
Yeah.
So 26 Friedman Lane is now an agent
That's now
approval.
for agent approval, yeah.
Is there any public hearings from the last meeting that is scheduled?
No,
He's motivated now. Look at her wheels turning.
I'm real motivated if I can get a meeting for myself. Anything that, so I mean, just for the record, anything that comes in for acceptance, the statutory acceptance guideline starts the day of the next regularly scheduled meeting, whether you have it or not. So it's not a disadvantage to the applicant. If they submit something and then the meeting gets canceled, the clock still starts as it relates to neighbor petitions and just the statutory timeline of making decisions. So if it does get canceled, it doesn't. So let's further review because I don't want to cancel it and then uncancel it. But I'm thinking the chances of it getting canceled is pretty high.
you're talking for
I
November.
think we deserve a break.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
A couple.
What else would be on it?
I have 2 people requesting their presence here.
Oh, got it.
30 Pepperidge, sorry, guys.
Yeah, the ones you just,
30 Pepperidge
Yeah.
and 590 Main Street.
Okay.
Sorry.
So let's say it'll be quick.
You can,
Ooh, maybe I'll skip
You can
it.
No, I want to hear.
no.
We'll talk about it. All right, do we want to continue? Public outreach? Do you want to give a
No.
quick update of you're looking into some stuff?
I'm working on a public outreach program where I'm trying to put together something. We had talked about it briefly. I'm still working on it.
But it is on your radar.
It's on my radar.
All right.
I think it would be good to do something after this, after this last application, I think some goodwill would probably
Yeah.
a good thing, and I feel like I almost made a joke about it, but it's not really funny, like we're back to the way things were with the empty chambers. It's kind of good that the population was involved and interested, but
Civic engagement, yes, we do encourage civic engagement.
Yep.
That being said, I really do think outreach is really, really necessary. I've seen other commissions in other places describe what their capabilities and responsibilities are. Specifically, our Water Conservation Commission has little one-sided, or two-sided card about conservation and So at the very least, I'm thinking, can we get some kind of mail around to people who are have inland wetlands in their area? I don't know, the whole town.
I'm working on on more or less a pamphlet that is, questions and answers and questions you might not have even thought that you needed to ask. I don't know whether it's going to be a Facebook, on our website, at the library. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm working through it.
Our health department actually does a really good job with their outreach, and we'll consult them, but I think they do basically what he's saying is they actually have an Instagram page if anybody's curious in the health department Insta. But they have several, social media items. They do put stuff out at the library when it's appropriate. Obviously, the Monroe Parents Group, the Monroe Neighbors Residents Group, and on our website more on the front end of what we have there. And I know our website in general isn't super easy to navigate, but to have some of those items there. So I don't necessarily think it would be a mailer because it would be it's not easy to generate everyone that has potential wetlands on site. But again, it's something we could put at our counter. It's something we could put on the website. It's something we could circulate. And there's enough,
Maybe at the farmer's market next spring, right? Like I know that's a little bit down the road.
Again, the health department did something similar. They, I think, did their new well kits. They went to the farmer's market and had a stand and did some of those things. So, we'll talk to them and see how they've done some of that.
But if there's something preemptive along the lines of what you're saying, the vehicle, I'm not so sure you can comment on, mail, but the information's got to get out there. People need to know what their rights are and.
It starts out by directing them to our website, directing them to the GIS and walking them through how to use a GIS to find out if there is a wetland even on their property.
Right.
But even before that, we have to kind of let them know what a URA is and what the restrictions are. So it's a little complicated and I haven't quite worked through the whole thing yet, but I'm.
Thank you.
Something for it.
On the right trail.
All right, do we have a motion to dismiss?
No, we need a motion to approve the minutes of 10:09.
No,
Just those.
we were going to
Oh.
have some language put in about Commissioner Smith's.
Oh, that was
Comments
09,
related to
not 9:25, sorry, okay.
Safe to get a motion to adjourn? Right, we have to motion to adjourn again?
Yeah.
I thought we didn't have the motion to adjourn
We are
anymore.
now. Staff is asked.
Somebody motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Sabia. Do we have a second?
Second, somebody,
Second.
come on.
Not gonna wait forever.
We're adjourned.